What is the culture of where you work? I mean, you know, Peter Drucker, Culture Eats Strategy for Breakfast. You probably don't know this quote. This quote. I'm going to ask you the question. Who said you're either at the table or on the menu? Bet you don't know. Nobody's ever gotten this right.
I've heard it, but I don't remember who.
Genghis Khan.
Close. Al Capone. Al Capone was a gangster, right, in Chicago. And it's true. Are we at the table or are we on the menu? And this is just my view. I'm sorry if it comes across as cynical, but it is the reality over the decades and decades that I've worked in academic medicine. And the culture shifted somewhat because of the financial pressures and other things that are playing a role. And this is the tension that exists in this environment. Why am I here today and not lecturing in my hospital? Why do I give a lecture in Singapore? Why do I travel around and try to meet people? Because the openness for these kinds of conversations I find here, not in my own organization, because of the way we're structured, is people still building a resume. I'm not building that resume. It doesn't matter to me. If someone wants to listen, I'll talk. But it's much more fulfilling when the people I'm talking to are interested in what I have to say. Regulatory is one of the biggest barriers we have. The Office for Interactions with Industry is an unbelievably complicated entity in my organization. It's very difficult to do what I do, which I have to run through them, which I do to get permission. For reasons that are unclear to me, people have to sign off on what I'm doing who have no idea what the hell I'm doing or what value it might have. And so that's my particular perspective. Sometimes I'm jealous of others that have the freedom to do these things because at HSS, for example, Hospital for Special Surgery, I don't think they have that environment. At Mayo, it's even more restrictive. Yet these are incredibly impactful organizations that change the world with innovations, many of which I don't think are necessarily coming from direct clinical activities, but lab activities. And the clinical activities, not surprisingly, scale through industry. And without relationship with industry, which has a responsibility to shareholders to scale something for good or for worse, we don't scale the things that we do. Cross-linked polyethylene is a perfect example. That's changed the lives of everybody who has a joint replacement. That came from the Mass General Hospital. A little caveat, Bill Harris, who was the developer of this and ran a lab, was in private practice. He was not a full-time member of the group. And industry was essential to doing this, though the institution allowed it to happen in its own labs and is now carrying on that work. So it's this paradoxical kind of a blend of regulatory and priorities and mission view, et cetera, that in some instances conflicts with the desire to be creative and in some instances supports it. That is a dilemma. Life is full of paradoxes. And working in an academic medical center and thinking the way I think is one of those that I would disclose to you.